Hi, welcome to another episode of Everyday Ghalib. My name is Amit Basole. I'm a faculty member at Azim Premji University in Bangalore. In this series, we have been Thinking with Ghalib, which is also the title of a book that I have co-written with my friend Anjum Altaf from Lahore. In this, we take a selection of couplets or shares by Ghalib and we try to understand not only their meaning but their application to our world and our life today. In today's episode, we have chosen a very well-known, very famous verse by the master poet. It goes like this. हमको मालूम है जन्नत की हकीकत लेकिन हमको मालूम है जन्नत की हकीकत लेकिन दिल के खुश रखने को ग़ालिब ये ख़याल अच्छा है. I'm sure many of you have heard this verse. Translated, it means, we know the reality of paradise. We know the real truth about paradise. But to keep our heart happy, Ghalib, this is a good idea. It's an idea that keeps us entertained and happy. Let's try to understand this verse maybe beyond the initial reactions that you might have to it. It's an enjoyable verse. It makes us laugh. But what is he saying beyond just the initial entertainment value of it? First, notice that he's not telling you anything about the reality of paradise. He's just saying, हमको मालूम है जन्नत की हकीकत. We know what the reality of paradise is. What is this reality? He doesn't tell us. That he leaves for us to understand. Now, of course, the one obvious reading of this, which I'm sure many of you have already thought of, is, well, you know, the reality is that it doesn't actually exist. It's not there, it's not real. But imagining it to exist makes us happy. दिल के खुश रखने के लिए हमारा दिल इससे खुश रहता है. So we think that there is something called paradise and we are happy making that fictitious thing up, thinking it to be real when it's actually not real. That's one straightforward interpretation. But one could also think a little differently and say maybe the reality of paradise is that one has to be a very particular kind of a person to find themselves in paradise after death. That's the reality of it. And I know that I will never get there, but you know what? That thought that it exists is good for me. It makes me happy. That's also another kind of thing, lesson that we could draw from here. So basically here, Ghalib is commenting on our fate, perhaps our collective fate as a fate of humanity, that, well, we all sort of want to go someplace. We want to go home after we pass on, but that eludes us, we never reach that home. We are not the kind of people who actually are good enough to find ourselves in paradise. We can just think of it and make ourselves happy. Right? हम लोग उसको सोच के दिल खुश रखते हैं, but हमको ये हकीकत मालूम है कि हम लोग कभी वहाँ पहुँचने नहीं वाले. We are not the kind of people who are going to get there. That takes us on a different road. Then we are thinking, well, what can we do as a society, as a community, to actually be worthy of these ideals? If we think of paradise as some sort of an ideal resting place, that we want to do something in this world, that we get to a place at the end of it which is a good place. How do we do that? If we are not there yet, then what does our community or our society need to do to get there? Notice also that because he has kept it vague what that reality is, everybody can attribute their own meaning to it. Your own good place looks different to different people, to different communities and societies, and he is allowing for that also. So in this couplet are hidden a lot of these kinds of possible interpretations and meanings that we can use to reflect on our own condition today. And like I have said before in other episodes of this series, we are not saying that this is the only way that you can interpret this verse or any other verse. Instead, we want to encourage people to think with Ghalib and come up with their own ways of interpreting him. And he, as you will see repeatedly, crafts his verses so that he allows for these possible meanings to be there. He is not saying everything out there. He is leaving many things to your imagination. So, in conclusion, let's come back to this verse. हमको मालूम है जन्नत की हकीकत लेकिन दिल के खुश रखने को ग़ालिब ये ख़याल अच्छा है. We know the reality of paradise, but to make us happy, this is a good thought. It's a nice imagination that we have. Join me next time when we take another share, another couplet of Ghalib and think with him. Thank you.